Oh, well, it also didn't ask me. Hmm. All right. Well, we'll see how it goes. Ta-da! All right. Who's thankful? Ron's having a birthday, apparently. Thanks, Richie, for the heads up on that. Happy birthday to you.
I'm grateful Kim is just one of the dudes today.
Bro, I'm all over it. Oh my gosh, that's funny. We'll just keep going. Anybody else thankful for anything? Anything at all?
I'm grateful for clarity and chaos.
Oh yeah, they happen simultaneously sometimes, don't they? That's awesome. Anybody else grateful for anything?
Sure.
Hit me.
Grateful for many things. Starting to enjoy life here in Dallas, which is great. And I had a listing in Prescott last week, and we should get 2 offers on it in the next 24 hours.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
These are things to be thankful for. I like it.
That's right.
I'll throw one out there. I'm grateful for a lot of crazy things to learn thanks to a dude named Steve.
Yeah, the world keeps churning, huh? That's good. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm thankful for being around another year and waking up feeling amazing today. So yeah.
There you go. I love it.
I'm thankful for being able to give my 19-year-old a little dose of reality this weekend. He thought he was going to buy himself a brand new car. Took him to the dealer, got him to, submit his credit. And then, it just came back and reality hit. Now he's, can't buy that brand new Ford Mustang GT right off the lot, right? Sometimes they just need to learn.
Yeah. What is that? Discovery is the best educator, right?
Right. He's going to have to work, that's the best teacher right there.
Shocker. Oh, that's awesome. That's funny. Anybody else?
Oh, I'm grateful. I got my mother booked to come out and visit us next week, so it'll be kind of fun to have her coming out with us here in the cool weather of California.
Yeah. While the rest of us were melting all of the salt out of our bodies this weekend. It's hard not to not think of you.
I do. It's usually 2 fingers, though.
There you go. Yeah, no doubt.
Todd, we're available the week after that, just so you know.
All right, perfect. Good to know.
Yeah, there you go. Show us that guest room, would you? We like that. I love it. Mr. Monahan?
What's up? And got on the Verde Canyon Railroad this weekend. It was beautiful, except for the weather. It was 109 or something crazy up there. It's supposed to be cool.
Yeah, that's the trick, huh? Go north, it cools down. Doesn't happen everywhere. That's awesome. It is a pretty train ride. Have you ever done that before?
That was the first time. 30 years in Arizona. That was the first time.
Wow, good for you. It is pretty. Very pretty. Very organized.
Yeah. It's an example. I was looking at it as if you call them and you work with them, it seems to employ half the town, and their level of service is absolutely first rate. From everybody you talk to is pleasant, positive, to looking after the customer. So it was a great experience, start to finish. If anybody's going up, give them a shot. They're good.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun experience. Wonderful. Okay, anybody else grateful for anything before we move forward?
We are grateful that we had a very difficult listing close on Thursday. That was one where the listing was expiring July 31st and we got a contract July 11th. So it was huge. We were very grateful for that. And with that, we capped. So
yay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Happy. Yay for you. Congratulations, you guys. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
That is awesome. A lot of things to be thankful for. I love this time together in the morning when we first launched this. I think it's a good reframing. If you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, it reminds you that there are good things out there happening in the world, and not everything is painful or icky or challenging or stretching. Some things are just simply happy and good. So I'm happy to hear from each of you. I'm happy to hear that things are moving and going well in your world. I'm grateful for that because I have a lot of opportunity through the week to week, to talk to a lot of agents and learning like how people are managing things and how they're processing things. A lot of people are having a hard time finding things to be grateful for, and not that there aren't great things to be grateful for. It's the overshadowing of so many clouds and issues, right? And so I think sometimes just reframing our thinking patterns and knowing to dig for things that you can be thankful for, I think just kind of helps rewire your brain a little bit. And so maybe Monday mornings you guys show up here and you just need to soak it in. I want to encourage you to soak it in, because the energy that you can get from other people and an understanding of hearing some of their challenges. You heard them say it was a challenging listing, right? And that finally closed. That makes us happy, right? Doing something that you've never done before. Those are things that are good for us. Celebrating a birthday, settling into a new place to live and getting your bearings there. I think there's a lot of things that when you start to look around, you can figure out that there's more things in your life to be grateful for than you might have at top of mind. But bringing that gratitude component into your life on a regular basis does something neurologically for you. So I want to just encourage you in that way to start keeping. A lot of people keep a gratitude log or a journal. I would just encourage you, one time a day to think about something that you're grateful for, and just put it in the notes in your phone so that you can kind of go back on days that are really, really tough and things don't seem like you have anything to be grateful for. Sometimes just looking through the list of the past gratitudes will help you change your perspective, and it will change some things in your brain. So anyway, about that. Andrea just bounced off. Deb, do you have anything that you want to share this morning?
Thank you. I would just say I'm grateful for my husband's surgery. He had diverticulitis surgery on Thursday, and
Nice.
it takes 6 inches out. It's a lot of intestine, so it went great. And I asked the anesthesiologist. I go, so Frank thinks he's going back to work on Monday. Is he going back? And he goes, and he's laughing. He's like, yeah, he's going back to work on a Monday, but not next Monday.
Not this one, yeah.
He went to work today.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Yeah. So he did great. I mean, even the surgeon, they let him out at Friday night at 10 o'clock out of the hospital because he was
That's
like,
like a
"Yeah, I
whole
don't really
new
need to
meaning to internal fortitude. Or
Amen.
sixitude. I don't know, but man,
Yeah.
bless his heart.
So we're happy. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna move forward because I want Steve to have as much possible time this morning as he can. As always, should you have questions or things that make you say, this is open mic day, always on Mondays. So if you have something, you can throw it in the chat. I'll watch the chat. And if you feel weird interrupting Steve, I'll do it for you. So if you throw it in the chat, because I don't feel weird interrupting him. When we talk over each other and we both understand, and we talk as fast as we can, and we hang up and go, yeah, good talk. See you later. It's pretty easy that way.
True story.
So it is a true story, isn't it? So I'm happy to watch the chat for you guys, but also feel free if you have something that tickles your brain a little bit, that you reach out and just open up and ask. So Mr. Valentine, my sweet friend, thank you for coming today, and thank you for sharing. We're excited to figure out what our identity is. And so I'm hoping to learn great things from you today.
Oh, this morning I'm going to try to unfuck your realtor brain. Here's what I want to talk about this morning. You talk about, has anybody read the book, The Four Agreements? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's one very specific, and this is what I love about AI being a thought partner, not a doer, is I was driving to Munns on Friday night, and this has been a constant thought. And I'm like, there's a part in the Four Agreements that talks about conditioning. If you're religious or you're church going, whatever it is, or however you're raised, we were all conditioned for certain things. And I love giving the example to people as I was conditioned as a kid in the church that the middle finger is very, very bad. It's disrespectful. It's all the things. Now, my kids have been conditioned that the middle finger is full on humor and it's welcome at most places, right? Different conditioning. right? Well, let's talk about real estate today. And let's talk about the average realtor that's been conditioned to today's market and the rules we must follow that I refuse to legally, by the way. So I also want to share this, by the way. Some really amazing clarity comes to place when you take pause and you start looking around and you start taking distractions off your plate. Real estate can be one of those shiny object chasing things constantly. And by the way, it creates chaos, but it also creates something else. So for the last decade, my dad's passing, the anniversary of my dad's passing is on September 4th. It's been a decade. There was somebody that unfucked me 10 years ago, Miss Ryan, Mrs. Ryan.
Who did that?
Yeah. But one of the things that she did in that I didn't realize until this conversation on Friday night was she was getting me out of the way I was conditioned in the traditional sense because I didn't want to do it anymore because I was broken. I was done with it, right? And I think that in this market, you don't have to lie about it. I think a lot of us like, there are days that I just want to give up. Like this market is stupid, people are stupid, and all the things. And the reality is, I'm realizing it's actually I'm just not talking to the right people. And we're taking things out of desperation in this market rather than looking at the rules and how we can apply what our knowledge is to change our outcome. So in the four agreements, they talk about conditioning as a child, right? You're conditioned what's good and bad, you're conditioned what's right and wrong, and then you're also conditioned on consequences. If you do bad things, you get bad consequences. You do good things, you're rewarded because you're being a good boy or girl. Okay? Now let's take it into the market. As I had this conversation on Friday night, I was so excited about it. I'm driving down the road at 90 miles an hour going, all right, bring up the book, The Four Agreements, and let's have a conversation because I think agents have been conditioned over these generations to be what they are, and nobody's giving them permission to do something different. So I want to go through this conditioning and then just show you where it applies. There's four agreements in this book. Obviously, it's called The Four Agreements. You should read it. It's a small read. So let's just talk about the conditioning problem. Real estate agents have been domesticated. Think about that for a second. The moment you get your license, it becomes the industry dream is handed to you. So let's talk about NAR. We're told to sign up for NAR, follow the rules, pay the dues in order to be a legitimate realtor. Then we've got Zillow and any of the other big conglomerates. We supposedly need them to operate our business. We need them for leads. We need them to show our listings. We need them to do these things. And like the chaos with Zillow right now with Compass and showing some listings and other listings, I don't care because I haven't been conditioned to give a shit what happens because I believe that through relationships and rapport, you can absolutely sell real estate. The market. We've all been conditioned that we're only as good as our last transaction. And if you do 4 transactions a year, you might miss something, right? It's because we've been conditioned that we're not that good if we're doing this amount of transactions. The consumer has been conditioned to believe you're a salesperson. You're as bad, if not worse, as a car salesman. I'd like to actually take this time to change the car salesman MO. Can we do that for a second? No longer should we be compared to a car salesman. I think solar salesmen have now taken the cake over car salesmen, in my opinion. They're 100% the bottom of the barrel salespeople. And Deb's on the phone. She hates it as much as I do with title. We all hate fighting with it. And I do want to give you an increase of income right here on this. I am now charging a $4.99 doc fee if anybody has solar on their house because it's a pain in the ass. So something to consider if we got to go through all those transfers, all that conversation, something to consider if it's got solar. Okay, I'll say off my tangent of solar. Over time, the conditioning has created a judge. I want you to pay attention to this and really think this through. You're not a top producer unless you close X amount of deals according to your brokerages, your teams, all the other things. You're a victim because I'm stuck doing the things the way I was told to, or I fail, or you have consequences from your team or brokerage for not doing the rules and the things that they set out, not giving you permission to think outside the box. This is why most agents are reactive and burnt out, chasing low margin work instead of building a strategic leveraged business throughout it. One of the things that is so clear to me that in the last decade is that I've played the entrepreneur role of a realtor, which means my business doesn't function like a business. I let the clients create chaos, and cool, it's good money, but I'll tell you what, it's exhausting on the mental. And most of you know my story, what it did for a little while, right? We tend to follow what everybody else is doing. And I want you to think about this. Ken, Velma, you guys talked about, this tough listing in this market. Here's the example I want to give. If we all owned restaurants and a challenging client was in the line, screaming, yelling, being obnoxious, not being respectful, what does that restaurant owner typically do? Peace out, either with one finger or two, right? They don't want them coming back. They don't want to do business with them. They don't want to serve them. Why do we do that in our business? Why do we take somebody that's rude, obnoxious, from a sign call to anything else and agree to go show them a house?
Because
At
of
some
the
point-
possibilities of the money we can make. So
Correct. Because we've been conditioned to chase the freaking call. We've been conditioned to chase the next deal rather than conditioned to interview the client and go, does this person bring me peace? Does this person bring me joy? And am I going to do good business with them? Or am I going to chase my head around for months and nothing ever come to fruition? So we've been conditioned to chase that speed to lead, get there first, do all the things. I don't know that that's really working for anybody, in my opinion. Because if you look at the people they're chasing, I'm going to ask you what their personal life looks like.
It's the fastest road to burnout in this business too, by the way, because you are handcuffed to that concept. And if you can't ever separate from that, or if you do separate from that, you feel guilty, you feel like you're missing something. You have FOMO in a weird way, not in a admiral way, but in a, I think, degrading way, right? I mean, I just think this is when we're so handcuffed to the business that we can't be selective about who we work with. I talked to a guy this past week and he goes, you know what? I'm at this space in my life where I get to make the rules. And I was like, yeah, good for you. Because he's been in the business, oh gosh, like 26 years, 27 years, something like that. And he's just tired. He's tired of being manhandled by all of humanity. And he's like, about 5 years ago, I figured out I don't have to do it this way. And so a lot of what you're talking about, Steve, is kicking the walls out and just saying, wait, I have a personal standard and this is how I run my business. And I don't care what anybody else says or thinks. And I think it's not even as much about the money, either leaving money on the table or making sure he was earning money if he accepted these positions or these clients, because it wasn't worth it. The cost is so high. Your bank account might be different, but your emotional, mental, physical, and all of that is just such a hot mess because you can't regulate anything if you're constantly subject to.
The t-shirt is really expensive when you get to that point, by the way.
Right.
Because I bought a couple of them. Here's how the 4 agreements expose the flaws. You have to know what the 4 agreements are. So let me just give you the rundown. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions and always do your best. Pretty good application for real estate agents, I would say. So let's talk about the conditioning, what conditioning says in each one of these, and the reality, and then what the new model can be, if you so choose. Conditioning says use industry buzzwords, generic scripts, and say whatever it takes to get the sale. Now, I know nobody in this room is doing that. Reality, this erodes trust and makes you replaceable. You see, if we're repeating the scripts and the same 3% and the same things, why are you any different than the next guy that walks in the door other than your personality or her personality, whichever that is? right? What's different? Where is your value? We've all heard what's your value proposition. This is truly where it is, right? It's what makes you stand out. In the new model, when we're unconditioned, your words become your value. You speak from deep strategy, market insight, solutions tailored to clients. Your reputation builds because your advice creates results, not because you sound like an agent. And let me give you an example of that. Saturday, I go into a friend's house, and by the way, it's a friend, not a client. He's watched me for 5 years go from the drinking guy in Munns Park to the clean guy in Munns Park, and he's so enamored by the journey. And he's like, I know a lot of the top realtors up here because he used to run the bar. He's like, but nobody seems to think outside the box, and we're getting ready to do this. Here's where you get outside the box and you realize, like, I need to guide people through things. They have a half torn out house that needs to be renovated. They want to move to Illinois and they were talking about buying, which is a really bad idea. You always rent in Illinois and own somewhere else. And so we talked through it in the kitchen, not an appointment. I said, hey, one, I don't think it's a good idea to buy in Illinois. Here's why. It's a very liberal state. It's very landlord friendly, or yeah, very tenant friendly, not landlord friendly. Let's buy in Wisconsin and look at what the rental conversion is. We also talked about their house, and by the time we got done, it was selling their house as is in the next 45 days. We may or may not buy it. I actually have a client I can tie it to. They're going to come down and buy another off-market deal to make their first rental property here in Phoenix and live in it for 6 months and then move to Wisconsin in the next 12 months. The old conditioned realtor would have looked at that and said, yeah, we can put this on the market. It's 350 and I'm going to make 12 grand. You walk out the door and you're a freaking hero. The new conditioning is, how do I guide this person to the absolute best possible scenario? And if I don't know how to do it, who can I bring in to help guide this process? So one of the things I'm realizing about a lot of real estate agents is very few can actually have the investing conversation. This is why it's so important that I've been talking about for a decade, ever since Kim and I met. Learn how to invest in real estate. It's not just for you. You may know how investing works, but you don't know investing until you do it. And once you understand investing and you understand how money works and you understand what it feels like, you then are of amazing value to your clients and how you strategically place them in the market and where they're going. It's no longer about getting that commission. It's about where is it going and what is paid for that strategy or solution for the client. Now, let me take one further. When you get really creative and out of the box, and I told you, I don't care about Zillow. It doesn't bother me on this stuff because I'm going to create my own path, because every market requires something a little bit different if you're evolving. And we're not being conditioned to do the same realtor thing, just a little different this year. Maybe this year's TikTok trend is falling in a pool and next year you're running into a garage door. I don't know, right? The point is that when we get to this point and you put in the time and the effort and the energy to learn these things and uncondition what's normal, not only does your income substantially grow, but your value to your clients substantially grows, where they're willing to invest more money for the solution than they would pay you for a commission. You see, that conversation in the kitchen on Saturday is probably, when all said and done, between off-market commissions and all the different things, is probably worth $150,000 worth of income in the next 60 days. That's a lot of sales to have to do. I don't have to sell anybody on that. So we're looking at how do we recondition in today's market to see opportunities. Agreement 2. Don't take anything personally. This is the hardest business to want to. I'm such a relational person. I don't want it to be transactional. And if it's not transactional, you can't take shit personally. And this is probably the best thing for all of us to understand, is that when we're going into a tough listing or a tough situation with a client, be the messenger, give your advice, give your guidance, give your opinion, and don't take it personally if they don't want to list with you. If their price is too high and you can't come to an agreement, don't take it personally. It's okay to say, it was great meeting you. I really enjoyed the time, but we're probably not a good fit. It's okay to leave it in that manner. And here's why, because you should know going in the door that I'm interviewing this person to work with them, not them interviewing you. Let's change that conditioning. We're going to choose our clients, not chase them. Conditioning says your worth is tied to clients' decisions, other agents' opinions, and market shifts. The reality is this leads to emotional whiplash and burnout, which is so true. When you're trying to fix everything and be everything for everybody, I can 100% tell you, you will burn out mentally, physically, and emotionally. And hopefully you can stay away from the bottle, because that was my deal. This one describes me to a T, because I would take everything personally. I would hurt for people. I would hurt for agents, and I would drink at night to settle the mind. And so it can burn you out when you start taking things personally and you start taking your client's shit home with you. Leave their shit with them. It is not your job. It's their story, their choice. In fact, I had a hard conversation with somebody the other day, which some of us, Kim, whatever you just said about making your own rules is kind of where I'm at. I'm always going to be respectful. I want to be above reproach, and I want to give somebody good information, but I'm no longer willing to cower in hard conversations with people. I had a client give me the riot act the other day about what they were netting out of their house. And I asked them one question. I said, hey, did you put the solar on? Yes. Did you ask anybody about putting the solar on? No. Then you need to take responsibility for what's coming out of this, because it's not me. You don't get to be pissed at me. That was a stupid decision you made. And now you're going to have to pay for it, unfortunately. But I'm not the scapegoat for this. It's when we get really clear and stop taking people's shit and taking it personally. And again, it's not out of disrespect. It's not out of ego. It's not out of arrogance. It's out of hard conversations and being willing to have them.
Steve, I'm going to jump in there really fast. Can I? This is something that like I've struggled with it personally to figure it out. Once I finally think I figured it out, then it started becoming very revealing. And here's what I've discovered in humanity. When we take things personally, it's usually showcasing some sort of insecurity in ourselves. And so if we can flip that and start to look at ourselves and say, okay, wait a minute. Why is this bothering me so much? Why am I so insulted? Why are my feelings so hurt? Why? What about me is making this a more emotional event? Right. And, I think with our clients, we don't want to appear to not be knowledgeable. So when someone says, oh yeah, I heard you went on a listing appointment the other day, how'd that go? And you go, oh, I didn't take the listing. We don't say I didn't take the listing. We say, oh, I didn't get the listing. It is very different thinking in that space. And I think when we say I didn't take the listing, that is a term of confidence. I know what I'm doing. I know what my business is. When I didn't get the listing, either way, you didn't take the listing, and either way, you didn't get the listing. But sometimes I think we feel diminished if someone says, I'm not going to do it the way you want to do it. And we have to decide, hey, that's fine. That doesn't change my identity or my value or my worth. That just says, hey, we don't come to an agreement. I have these facts. You're operating in an emotional state about what you think your house is worth. I don't want to go down that road with you. But I think sometimes we don't have that confidence in ourselves to the either about our knowledge or just as our personality, like things that we could work on. So when we take things personally, when somebody cuts you off on the road, you cannot for a second think that that's personal, unless you've been a real jerk to them. Then I can see where it's retaliation. But let's just say you're just aimlessly driving down the road and someone cuts you off. That's not personal. So why are we so offended? We spend a lot of time as humanity being offended. And really what I think that has a lot to do with is our own insecurities about things that we could work on and fix in ourselves. And when we start to gain those kinds of strengths and build that kind of confidence, the kinds of conversations that you're saying about your solar guy, listen, this is your problem. You fix it. This isn't on me. You can yell all you want, but I can't do anything about it. I'm not doing anything about it. And I don't own the responsibility for it. But that comes from having built some confidence and working through some of those insecurities, right? So sometimes these experiences are really good for us to be able to go in a self-reflective mode and go, okay, what do I need to do to work on me so that I feel good about being able to say, sorry, your problem, not my problem. instead of like, sorry, it's kind of your problem, not really my problem. I don't really know what to do. There's a big difference in delivery, right? And then how you actually feel about it, and walking away having confidence, going, listen, nice people. I'm not mad at them. I don't hate them. I don't feel like they hate me. I don't think it's that. We just don't agree. That's fine. Move on. But it doesn't have to reduce what you view as who you are and your contribution.
Hey, can I
100%.
add something there as well, Steve?
Yeah.
I think the importance there, like you telling, hey, this, you bought the solar, I didn't buy the solar. What are you mad at me about? I think coming across that way to your client, being confident, you gain respect from them versus
Yeah.
cowering and trying to have, beat around the bush and try to get there. They're like, well, you're not really being clear in what you're saying. I just think that when you're confident and you can say those things, hey, just very matter of factly, respectfully, but hey, this is a problem that you created. I'm trying to help you solve it. So this is not a me problem. I think having that confidence gives you a lot more confidence with your clients as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that you said that, Will, because this is where the new you operates from. You operate from a position of authority and neutrality. You present options, guide decisions, and you don't chase validation. Clients respect you more because you're not desperate for approval.
That's it.
It says a lot when you can walk away from something and be okay with it. And you'd be amazed at the amount of people that will come back and respect that. And we all talk about it, right? Like, well, if you're going to negotiate your commission, then how are you going to negotiate for me later on down the road? Well, same thing. I have the ability to walk away from you and have the hard conversation. How do you think that works when I'm representing you with hard conversations? It is important because that shows up in how we confidently negotiate on behalf of our clients later on down the road. Agreement 3, don't make assumptions. We all know the old term, right? You assume, you make an ass out of yourself. Conditioning says, assume you know what your clients want. They just want the highest price. They only care about the lowest commission. Conditioning also is when somebody calls and says, I want to sell my house. That's the instant run over there and sell their house. But few in the new model, we're asking a lot more questions because we all know that the consumer comes to us, what's up, Kenny? We all go through the process. Totally lost my train of thought. Thanks, Kenny. We all go through the process that we assume when the client calls, they know what they want to do. And the reality is when they present it to us, it's the wrong way to do it. And it's really open for discussion, but you can't come out and say, I wouldn't do it this way. It's asking questions. So tell me why you're going to do it this way. Why are you putting this much money down? Who's advising you? Can I show you a different way that might be possible? The reality is you miss hidden opportunities because you're working from outdated stereotypes. When we assume a client wants to sell their house and we don't go further into what they want to accomplish, we're missing the hidden opportunities, like the appointment that I talked about on Saturday. If I was just there in the old school conditioning model of just take a listing, what opportunities were missed to create income, but what opportunities were missed to create wealth and longevity for that client? Most important part. The new model, the new you ask better questions, you uncover their real needs and design creative solutions they didn't know existed, off-market creative financing, equity positioning, etc. How many of you are doing any sort of off-market, buying rentals, any creative financing, anything with you or your clients right now? All right, a few of you. It's so important before you get into those pieces, obviously, your career being stable, but also understanding that you are your most important client at the end of the day. Most of us just never been conditioned to look at the mirror and go, man, the 27 years that I've been helping other people make money, save money, and do all the bullshit, why do I not do it for myself? And the reason being is because somewhere along the way, this market conditioned us to go be salespeople rather than opportunities to create income and build wealth through the knowledge of real estate. That's conditioned. That's the conditioning of teams. That's conditioning of brokers. That's why they don't necessarily promote flipping houses or buying rental properties or doing creative financing, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong with those things if you don't know what you're doing. But they are also absolutely things that make a difference for you, your family, your long-term wealth, and your clients. The benefit of you doing it is what you get to pass on to your clients, because now you know what's possible. Now you get to show and be excited about what's possible because it's not theory. It's proved, right? One of the absolute things that I set out to do was go lose money and fuck around and find out before I got a client to do, or before I showed an agent how to do it. So I never had to look back and go, oh, I probably could have done that different. Now all these people are doing it the wrong way. No, I took all the bumps and bruises from it. And you guys can too. Like, just a reminder, and Kim knows, 10 years ago, I had a 600 FICO score and I had no money. I might have been doing 20 to 40 transactions a year, and that was on the cusp of the REO business going down, and I was in reinvention mode. I didn't have any money. I didn't have 20% to buy a rental property. I didn't have money to buy a flip.
Yeah.
What I did have was relationships and questions. And then I started to learn. That's where the new conditioning comes in. It's called fuck around and find out. You are going to lose money, guaranteed. It's going to happen. You're going to regret some of it. But the only way to know is by doing it and then going, oh, I have negative clarity now. I don't want to do that again. There's a lot of things I won't do again, but I had to lose money to figure it out. Even though Kim probably told me not to do some things, we still have to go figure it out. Does it work? Does it not work? Right? Like my friends Mike and Jess, I love listening to them talk about their self-storage. It's something I'm super fascinated about. I'm learning. I'm not going to do it, but when they go find another one, I might want to invest in it with them because they're the experts in it. I'm not. It's really important as you grow in your knowledge and you get unconditioned, that partnering and listening to other people and sharing in that is where you grow. It's where you go further. If you think sitting in your office with your teams and doing the things is going to make you wealthy, it's not. You've been conditioned to that point. And I'm asking you to politely go get the book Unfuck Yourself and take these things and start realizing, like, we have been conditioned for 50 years to do it the same way. It's really funny, 50 years later, the commission is still 3%. Nothing's changed. Again, conditioned. But I know there's a few of us in this room that probably won't work for 3% because we've changed the condition and we've gotten outside the box and we've learned where our value is and our validation when it comes down to those things. Agreement 4, always do your best. There's lots of times I look around and go, man, did I do my best? Some days I can answer yes, some days not. But the conditioning says that you're doing your best when you answer your phone 24/7, you're always available at midnight, and everything to everyone in this business. Back to the restaurant. What time do they open? What time do they close? They serve a $5 hamburger. They don't guide people through wealth building. They don't guide people through buying and selling their homes, yet they have an open and close, and they leave all the customers shit at the restaurant. And then they start it all over again tomorrow. That's old conditioning. That's old conditioning of I'm always going to answer the phone. And I love listening to realtors when they're like, oh yeah, I'm always available. I'm like, that's stupid. You're going to die very soon for that. And you're not going to be happy doing it because we don't set boundaries because we're taught, again, speed to lead and all the different things that we're supposed to do to chase this business in order to be successful. And the only way to get there is by working more, being more available, and selling more things. And the reality is that's the farthest from the truth in this current market. Reality, that's not your best. It's the easiest way to burn out and disguised as hustle. The new model, the new conditioned you. Your best means working in your genius zone, high value conversations, negotiations, and deal architecture while building systems, partnerships to handle the rest. Here's the cost of conditioning. Sorry, let me rephrase that. The cost of staying conditioned. If you stay in the current realtor domestication model, you'll be at the mercy of lead platforms and market cycles. You'll consistently compete on commission and marketing gimmicks. And you'll be replaceable the moment a cheaper option shows up. We all have the ability to make our businesses irreplaceable based on the value you bring to the table. And while many people are talking about like, the realtors will go away. Yep, the average realtor will go away in the next 5 years. They won't be able to cut it. It's the ones that have the value and the experience and the earned wisdom that they're bringing to the table. And they no longer are conditioned to treat their consumers as leads, but community. You see, I thoroughly believe that my clients would be much better off if they knew they could make a phone call if there was a door knocker there to ask about solar, to ask about putting windows in. I want to make sure I was thinking about it yesterday. I'm like, man, the video I need to make is like, people are so pissed off about what realtors charge, yet the solar companies are single-handedly walking away with 30, 40, 50 grand of equity out of people's homes.
Yep.
And not providing any value. As we see these things, talking and guiding our consumers and giving them that information is what sets us apart. When I build financial strategies for people, it sets me apart from the average realtor because the average realtor doesn't know. And you guys are all working in that capacity of the more you know, the more value you add, and getting unconditioned from what the market has told you is the value of success, how leads need to be processed, how people need to be talked to, and start creating your own path, which is your own version of you. We have a great framework. There's a lot of great framework. You guys all have great frameworks in your business. My question is, can these 4 agreements tweak it just a little bit and make it a little bit better and a little bit more increase and a little bit better conversations? And then you start to lead in life without as much chaos, and you stop chasing clients and you start attracting, which is very similar model to Real, which is, hey, we want to attract agents and good agents into our network for a reason. And it should be the same model for our business. Who are we attracting? Who are we guiding? Who are we helping? And it's not everybody. I don't want to be everybody to everything, everybody for everything, everything for everybody.
There we go.
And I don't know that all of us want to be everything to everybody. We can't, physically, emotionally, mentally. But there is people out there that are our people, and we have to find them through our messaging, through our brand, through what we have to offer, rather than the traditional way of how real estate is done, which is through the sales process and the funnel process, rather than through the rapport and relationship and guidance. And, it was used for a long time, right? The trusted advisor. I'm your trusted real estate advisor. The problem is all those trusted advisors really didn't have any knowledge. They got a real estate license, like, I'm an expert. No, you're an expert when you have earned wisdom in that space and you've done the reps. Until then, you're not. Here's the freedom in unconditioned from the old real estate model. You control your deal flow by creating opportunities, not just waiting for them. I'm going to give you specific examples of this, right? Controlling your deal flow by creating opportunities, not just waiting for them. 4 years ago, last week, 2 weeks, anyway, 4 years ago, I sat on a couch with Kim Ryan talking about Real and joining Real and what was next. And we started talking about opportunities and how I was going to run my off market and the things that we were buying and are investing through the brokerage in order to capitalize on the opportunities that Real gave us in stock and attraction and all those things. I control my deal flow. I control my income through the conversations and the investing because it doesn't require a traditional model to create income. It requires conversations around real estate. It requires conversations with people that you're helping them navigate. And by the way, some of these relationships take 4 or 5 years to pay off. But if you're consistent in them and building that reputation, they're going to come back, and not because you dripped on them, not because you did all the bullshit. If you have to drip someone to keep them close to you, probably not a true relationship. My drips consist of, hey, a voice memo with a past client. Hey, I was just thinking about you when I was driving down the street. How are the kids? What's going on? Hit me up if you need anything. Your freedom begins when you own the client relationship because you're the trusted advisor, not the transaction facilitator. We all have those clients that call us for everything. Like, hey, do you think I should paint the front door red? And sometimes we get a little annoyed, but the reality is you need to value that person because they're asking for advice and they're doing the right things.
Yep.
You monetize your expertise in multiple ways, not just commission checks. We all have abilities to create other ways to monetize in our industry based on the knowledge and the earned wisdom that we have. And we all specialize and do different things, and there's different advice and different ways to do it. It's finding what's unique and is yours. We buy into other people's systems to learn from it and tweak it to make it our own rather than plugging into all the industry standard stuff. It's probably the reason that none of my CRMs have ever worked is because I hate all the preloaded bullshit that's in it. Right? It's just crap. The last one, you build a sustainable business that works in any market cycle. I can give you guys that testament because since 2015, I have been operating more in the investment combination traditional. There are opportunities no matter what the market brings. Doesn't matter. And the funny thing is we used to all think that opportunities were in death and divorce, and they're not. There are real breathing people that are having issues every day that are willing to invest a major amount of their equity to save the other part of their equity to move on. Yeah, I talked to a guy yesterday in surprise. He's like, hey, these people need to go. The house is in perfect condition. They don't want to put it on the market. They just wanted a quick buyer. Right? It's crazy to still be able to buy things at 70 cents on the dollar in this market that are super clean that just need to be put back on the market. The opportunities are there, guys, but we have to uncondition from what the traditional model is and understand that these are conversations. We're just solving a problem. And too many of us are using our listing agreements, our fiduciary, and some other things to condition us from being able to have real hard, challenging conversations with people and walk them through it and then establish what needs to be done. Is it going to be agency or are you buying it from? Is it going to be unrepresented? And we're scared of these conversations. And I'm not sure why. What I do know is that your fiduciary at the end of the day, and Kim, you can correct me or somebody else, because I probably have this wrong. The fiduciary is doing the right thing for the client, period. And sometimes the highest and best number for that client in its condition is what they're going to get. And whether I buy it or somebody else does, I'm not violating my fiduciary if we've had the conversation. And if you can operate in honesty and integrity, you absolutely can walk through those opportunities and everybody smile about it. And people show up to your house after you've bought their house a year ago because
Steve,
you
can
did
I
the
add to
right
that?
thing and you solved their problem. You're not a wholesaler. You're not some of these other people who are trying to tie things in and sell people on stuff. We're truly trying to solve the problem. And when it comes down to it, it's a net number result. If it solves the problem, great. If it doesn't, okay, on to the next.
I think that's the one thing that real estate school did for all of us was all of the risk management stuff. Don't ever do this because this will happen. Don't ever do this because this will happen. Stay over here. Don't go over there or this will happen. And honestly, I don't think any realtor really learned anything in real estate school except all the things you should be really afraid of doing. And so we've never pushed back. We get nervous about what am I going to do if with an unrepresented seller, frankly, or buyer, depending on what the language or what the relationship is. But because there's so much liability exposure. And the truth is, you said the key words if you've had the conversation, right? by the way, if you've had the conversation, then you can have confidence in the rest of the conversation and as you walk it out, because you're not trying to slip something past someone. You're not doing something sneaky, right? And I think that's where we get close to getting really messy with our fiduciary responsibilities, is we're trying to be so legal and so careful that we're not actually giving all the information, partly because we don't know it all. I think that's a big thing to start with. We don't know how to have these conversations. But there are ways to have these conversations that you're not even close to walking the line. If you're disclosed, you're good to go, right? But you can't be shady. You can't hide pieces of it. And I think that's when we go back, for me, if I just go back to my own real estate school experience, I did it twice, right? Once for my regular license, and then the same exact coursework for your broker's license, which I thought was so ridiculous. I was like, no, I'm not here for a new licensee. I'm here for brokering. And they're like, oh yeah, same book, same class, same. Oh, okay, that makes me feel really good about all the brokers that I'm encountering, right? Like, that's silly. But the only thing you're really carrying forward is, the space of an acre, how to do that measurement, and all the things not to do, because there's so much exposure. So Steve, when you're having these conversations to real estate agents, I'm sure that there are all sorts of red flags and bells ringing and flying in their heads, because this sounds like you are not using the contract. You're not doing any of that. And the truth of the matter is, part of that conversation we had that day 4 years ago or whatever was like, yeah, your best bet is to absolutely use the contract, right? Like, but agents don't think of it like that. They think if I'm doing something different than the traditional, then I have to make up all this other stuff. And you can't. You can totally use the tools, have the right conversations, and be able to walk this space without feeling like you're barely on a tightrope.
And by the way, that conversation, when you learn through something, or I went and collaborated with Kim, I said, hey, I buy all these houses off market and I never pay myself a commission, but there's profit. And I want to make sure that my trajectory and reel hits my targets so I can hit a lead every year. So rather than doing a wholesale fee or whatnot, I'm just going to run an unrepresented seller fee on this and then take my commission inside reel, which increases our transactions by about 30 a year. And we just pay ourselves a profit because it's all taxed the same. But see, it's moving through the number and understanding where everything is to create that roadmap of financial freedom in the future. But I had to walk it backwards and talk with somebody and say, hey, what does this look like? What does this feel like? And how we operate? And that's how we did it. Yep. And several of my agents have learned to do the same thing. Is like, oh, well, I can pay myself a profit up front by paying myself a commission. It doesn't cost the seller. I'm just going to raise the price in the loan and pay myself a commission, which, by the way, it's great to have operating capital when you sit on a house for 6 months.
Right.
We learned, we changed, we shifted, but we found out what the benefits were by just thinking outside the box and unconditioning from what the norm is.
Yeah. And you guys, if you think that you want to take a walk down the wild side, right? Like, start asking the questions, because that's the only way you're going to get the information. It's the only way you're going to be able to evaluate and say, should I go left or should I go right? Is this a deal for this, or is this a deal for this? But you don't know that until you ask the questions. But your conditioning says it's always and only a deal like this, or it's no deal. And that's where I think so many agents who don't understand, number one, how money moves, right? Taxation, I think, is one of those elements too. Like, you and I had a long conversation about, hey, income tax is income tax. It doesn't matter if it's over here or over here or over here. Where can you get something back from it? So we ran transactions through the company. Yes, in the immediate, you're paying out that 15%, but then you're winning back, right? It's a long game, but you have to just watch one penny make its way all the way around the world and back to you and figure out how that goes. Your business structures might be different, but taxation is still the same for the world. So figure out how to make that stuff work. That's just by asking more questions and saying, okay, if we did it like this, well, what if we did it like that? And that, honestly, you guys, your whole businesses can change this way by how you're thinking. Sometimes just as simple little things like, you don't need to create a whole new contract. We have all these attorneys that created all of these contracts. So let's find out what we need to do to augment them, because we do need to augment them. They're not written specifically for the kind of transaction you're doing, because there needs to be more disclosure. That doesn't mean that what we have isn't useful. It's we take that and we build on that. So those are just like 2 or 3 little examples of how, like, Steve's very compliant. Remember at the very beginning of this, he said, I'm going to show you how to do this, but we're going to do it legally. So he's walking it all out legally. It's all disclosure and it's process and it's asking the right questions.
Well, I will open it up to you guys for questions and comments regarding this topic and unconditioning from what you've been taught and where you want to go from here. Anybody excited about that?
I have a comment, Steve. It's
Yeah.
something that you hit on with feeling like you have a fiduciary to your client. So many times agents are trying to achieve a goal that's not their clients. And you see this all the time where I'll talk to my agents and they're like, yeah, I'm beating them up for the price and this and this and this. I'm like, well, what does your client say? They're like, well, they just want the house. I'm like, so you're willing to let your client lose this because you're trying to save them another $1,000 on something when they already said yes? Like,
Hero.
if they lose the house over $1,000 that they didn't care about, you didn't do them a favor. You're not representing them well.
Yeah.
And we get taught in school, like, just like you were saying, Kimberly, oh, you have to do this. You got to look out for your client. You got to look for, but looking out for your client means achieving their goal, not
Right.
what you think their goal should be. And that's the biggest problem we have. We're doing a short sale right now, trying to negotiate for a buyer to get a short sale under contract. And the other agent is trying to get another 1% of this or this. It has nothing to do with what the transaction is. He just feels like he's fighting for the client. And we're going to walk away and his client's going to lose because now they don't have a contract to get the short sale started.
Right.
Over like $1,000.
Frustrating.
I'll throw a question out there. So I guess if you're, if you're sitting there as an agent going, I've known the traditional stuff, I've known the traditional side, I like this, I'm interested in it, what's going on? Like, Steve, what would be your recommendation? Because I know a lot of things shifted for you that you went and did and stepped into to get where you're at. What would be your like simple first step? Hey, try this kind of recommendation to an agent who's sitting there going, I want to step into all that stuff.
Well, the simple place is to find, let me give you a couple of steps. One, find somebody that you truly respect and trust and want to emulate, right? So if it's somebody online that you appreciate, the person that they are, all the things that go with it, not just what they do, follow that person, right? On the investing side, I think the one thing that most agents could really I don't want to put this. It would give them the best advantage over majority of real estate agents if they would practice flipping houses. I didn't say flip houses. Kim and I used to have this funny talk, and I think I did it once, which was she would talk about doing their vision or their goals for the year, and they would start with a bag of Monopoly money. You're like, so here's the Monopoly money. So if you have a $500,000 of Monopoly money right now, and you could go buy a flip today, where would you look? See, most of us will wait until we have money to go do the investing. And then when the money shows up, we're like, okay, now what we do? Because there's 1,000 other things that need to come before you find money. You need to understand values. You need to understand construction. You need to understand what you're buying, why you're buying, how to negotiate it. And guess what? You can't do any of that once you have money. You need to do that before you have money, because if you find a deal, you will find the money, guaranteed. All the
Well,
time.
and let's go back to something. When you first started this, Wendy was not a GC. So for
She
those
had a
of you
paintbrush,
looking,
though.
she knew what they were, at least, huh? More than we tease Steve about tools. He's like, yeah, I don't know, ask Wendy. I'm in your camp. But I mean, that was part of the learning process. Was like, well, wait a second. Wendy's actually really good at this stuff. And so that kind of dovetailed into this fix and flip concept and the wholesaling piece, and then starting to realize, oh, I don't need to wholesale, I can hold. and then sell, so I can hold sell, right? And she can do that renovation work. But that wasn't part of it to begin with. So if you're looking from the outside in and saying, well, yeah, it's easy for you because you have this genius wife who does all of this stuff, right? So of course it's easy for you. Yeah, well, that's not how it started. So it is just about putting in the time and the effort and the work. And that was part of the partnership with Wendy. And by the way, I'm going to tell stories out of school. Wendy's running her own business. So when we're looking at like what happens on these flips, it's not just Steve's making all this money on this thing. It's Wendy's company is doing her part and that company receives that. So keep in mind, like, it's more complicated than just, I found the deal, I have some money, I'm going to try to flip it. And that's where you're going to pay the hard money lessons, right? But this isn't how it all started. And so I think you need to be encouraged that you can build this. This isn't just something that's a just add water, it's a just add effort.
Add in something real quick. Hey, buddy. Kenny got the blazer. You saw this, sorry.
I was there.
This is a good point you bring up, because we're working on reconditioning the thought process of the agent on the team of, hey, can we buy it? If we go on a listing appointment, the first thing we're like, would it make sense for us to buy it? And then what happens is sometimes that is the best thing for the seller. That's what they want. Easy, be done with it. And so what happens is now Kenny will back the flips. He's got the money. So now the agent says, hey, I met with the seller. They don't want to go to market. The house is trash. They need a quick sale, whatever. Can we buy it? So then Kenny says, bring me the comps. What do you think it's worth? What do you think? And then what happens is some of our agents are making more money on flips than they are on commissions. And like, we've got two that they're having their best year ever in seemingly one of the tougher markets we've seen, but we've got several people who are having way better years. Some have already exceeded last year so far in 2025. But it's also sticky, because you want to know how to have retention of agents on the team, give them more opportunities to do more and think outside their regular real estate box. And so what we're learning is that when we go in with the mindset of, hey, is it possible that we could buy the house and or flip it or wholesale, whatever, as an option, if it works out best for the seller, then we have the capital to do it, the backing capital to do it. But it's also a way for ancillary income, another revenue stream for the agents, and it's very sticky for retention.
Yep. Yeah, it's something that they get to be a part of that they don't have anywhere else when it comes down to it. And it's also teaching them the at-bats, right? The at-bats are, they're going to get really good at evaluating properties. The more properties they evaluate, the easier it is for them to see those things, the easier it is for them to talk to the sellers and have that conversation by being able to lead them, not in one direction or another, but to be able to give somebody options. Hey, this is what it looks like if we do this. This is what it looks like. Both have pros and cons. And then they get to choose. And by the way, let's just put this in perspective. I don't care if you don't have money, you don't have a contractor, and you just have this. You are absolutely capable of doing what everybody else does, because that's where I started. I went out and I partnered with money. I partnered with a GC who happened to be my wife, but guess what? We all know GCs, and you just have to set the expectation and find a GC that you can truly trust and partner with. Sean and I are doing that right now with a contractor. It's on a small flip. He's doing it. He gave up the budget. He's paying for the repairs, and we're going to split the profit afterwards. And it's working. So everybody is capable of doing these things. But you have to uncondition yourself that it's not possible because I don't have X. The reality is you don't have a relationship that you need. And you've heard me say this over and over again, and on this call, for any of you guys who are like, oh, I want to do all these things, understand that before you get there, your ability to create rapport and relationships. I look on this call, right? Todd, I mean, what are we, like 20 rental properties deep over a decade? Right? Some creative financing, some different things. We've done all kinds of crazy stuff, but it was because of relationship through a mastermind. Ty, I don't think Ty have ever done anything, but I love Ty to death. But Ty is with Kenny. Now, Kenny was my FedEx guy when I was 18. Kenny doesn't call me for real estate anymore. We go to look at cars. That's kind of fun. But Kenny and I are partnering on some different things, and he's bailed me out of a few things. Guess what? Those are relationship driven. They had nothing to do with what I do with them. They 100% have to do with the relationship that I have with the other agents and the lenders, and it's not just one. And so the success for all of us has to do with the relationships that we create and where they're going to go, and creating the right relationships, not the wrong ones. I mean, I can just keep jamming about this stuff. It's after 11. So you guys tell me if you have questions. I'll stay on for a few more minutes. I'm up. I'm game.
Well, thank you, first of all. Good information, good conversation and discussion, good thinking. So I love that. I appreciate your time and effort and prep time for it. So thanks a bunch for that.
Absolutely.
Steve,
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you. I really needed this morning, because with all the JVs and all the junk going on out there, oh my God, I'm like, that's how I built this business for 39 years, is relationships, because I love people. I love connecting great realtors with my escrow officers. It's been my passion for 39 years. And I've been really beat up by all this year too, and so, man, I'm so glad I was on this call today. So thank you very much. You made my morning, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. All right, no more comments. I'm peace out. Appreciate
All right. Have a super happy week, you guys. See you next time.